Warm welcome to the news in details now. Today, President and Commander-in-Chief, the Rwanda Defense Force, chaired a High Command Council of members from RDF, RNP, and NISS. The Commander-in-Chief called on all present to uphold the values of discipline, service to the country, and hard work on which RDF was founded. He reminded the participants of their role in ensuring the sustainability of Rwanda's socio-economic transformation and hard-earned security. The Commander-in-Chief held senior officers accountable for delivering RDF's mission and stressed the need for unwavering commitment to appropriate management of resources in their respective institutions. The Commander-in-Chief cited examples of complacency, inefficiency, and failures, and pledged to the Council that he would not waver in taking appropriate actions against those who fail to fulfill their responsibilities. The High Command Council is a periodic decision-making council and a strategic guidance forum chaired by the Commander-in-Chief. The meeting was attended by the Minister of Defense, Chief of Defense Staff, Service Chiefs, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Defense, Division, Brigade, and unit commanders, commanders of military schools and hospitals, Joint General Staff, and heads of departments from the RDF headquarters and other junior officers and lower-level commanders of RDF units, as well as senior officials and RNP and NISS. Now moving on, according to the health authorities, Rwanda has invested heavily in the purchase of oxygen-making machines for COVID-19 patients, now whereby 2,400 cylinders of 50 liters of oxygen are produced per day, up from the 600 cylinders. Now attendees of a virtual meeting of the East African Community Health Workers Association stressed the need to coordinate efforts to combat the pandemic. Now, Innocent Mugabo has more the details.
Healthcare providers in Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, South Sudan, and Ethiopia are discussing the development of health services through innovation and the use of technology. Here they also highlighted the country's position in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic and the shortage of oxygen and ventilator machines due to the increase in the number of patients, including those suffering from the pandemic. Countries that delayed the delivery of COVID-19 vaccines, including Tanzania and Burundi, say that they have begun distributing them and that the public is being told the benefits of the vaccines. Dr. Daniel Ngamije, the Minister of Health, says that Rwanda's efforts to combat COVID-19 include a significant investment in the purchase of oxygen-making machines.
Umuntu abishyize mu mibare no kuvuga yuko twabashaga gukora amacupa.
Speaking of numbers, we used to make 600 cylinders of 50 liters of oxygen per day. We have now reached 2,400 cylinders. We installed these oxygen-making machines both in hospitals in Kigali and other parts of the country. This is something to appreciate, that in such difficult times, we're also able to find the capacity to take care of our COVID-19 patients. Even after the pandemic, oxygen provision services to those in need of it will continue. Even though we had an increase in the number of infections and deaths, but Rwanda performed quite well, that is to say, through making sensitization on the nature of the pandemic. Minister Ngamije also says that cooperation is the only way to enable countries in the East African region to fight against COVID-19. This pandemic has no borders. You remember that we used to have cases of truck drivers from our neighboring countries, and we can't stop cross-border trade. But if we work together in prioritizing testing and vaccination, this will benefit us all in the East African region. Cooperation would help us find an everlasting solution to the pandemic.
The
head of the Rwanda Healthcare Federation says that there is a need for more efforts to end the COVID-19 pandemic. We should put in more efforts in protecting people from getting infected and infecting others. When they get sick, we also monitor how they are being taken care of, not forgetting to increase the number of ventilators. We were lucky that it didn't hit us as it hit India and Europe, people being attended to by the roadsides. This is because our government took immediate measures to protect its people. On the part of the people, they applaud the government's efforts in dealing with the pandemic. Wearing face masks is very crucial since it protects us as people who come in contact with many people. The government urges us to test and get vaccinated. When this pandemic ends, we shall be able to bring in more money for the country in form of revenues. The 9th East African Health Workers Association meeting will last 2 days. Attendees find that efforts to cope with the COVID-19 pandemic should go hand in hand with caring for the health of children and women, combating non-infectious diseases and mental health. Innocent Mogabo, RTV News.
Let's follow up with an announcement from the RDF press release on promotions and appointments in the Rwanda Defense Force. His Excellency the President of the Republic of Rwanda and Commander-in-Chief of the RDF has promoted and appointed the following RDF personnel as follows. Lieutenant Colonel Francis Regis Kataraiha is promoted to Colonel and appointed Head of Communications, Electronic and Cybersecurity Department in the RDF. Lieutenant Colonel Karangwa Kaplemngezi is promoted to Colonel. Lieutenant Colonel Lambert Sendejeya is promoted to Colonel. Lieutenant Colonel Patrick Nyirishema is promoted to Colonel. Lieutenant Colonel Emabre Ruda Hunga is promoted to Colonel. Now, the promotions and appointment take immediate effect. Moving on, Uganda has handed over to Rwanda the bodies of 2 Rwandan nationals who were killed in that country, one of which had been living there for more than 2 years.
The deceased are 52-year-old Theonestu Sabimana and 47-year-old Paul Vangirana. The relatives of the men told us of how one of them went missing. We have people still living there who had gone with him, and they are the ones that called to ask if he had arrived safely after he left them coming back here. We told them that we had not seen him. We then heard reports from across the border that he had been spotted using forex agents to change currencies and that he was killed for his money. The local residents are now urging people to stop going to Uganda. I urge people to stop going to Uganda and earn a living here instead. You are seeing for yourselves what they are doing to us there, and it is not good. What is the point of pursuing money if it is going to kill you? Moreover, they are leaving money here. How can we be happy about that? The bodies were received by Gicumbi's mayor. The relatives living where he was called saying he had a lot of things with him when he decided to return and was clearly heading home. He was stabbed to death. Yet the head of Kabare district tried to insinuate that he was killed on our side of the border and his body was then dumped back into their country. That is adding insult to injury. He was reported to have come with money and other belongings, but as you saw, they gave us just their bodies and nothing else, yet they had been living in their country. They did not even make an effort to show us any of the things he owned while living there. As for 48-year-old Paul Vangirana, a resident of our sector here in Kaniga, he was also killed in that country, and reports indicate that his body was found close to a military base. Local officials in districts along the border have again warned residents about venturing into Uganda, and autopsies are to be carried out on the bodies to determine their causes of death.
At Chanika on the Rwanda-Uganda authorities have received 16 Rwandans' chests from Uganda. The 9 men, 5 women and 2 children say they were arrested by Ugandan security forces, accused them for spreading COVID-19 in their country and destabilizing security.
The 16 individuals told the media they had been held for periods ranging between 3 days and 2 weeks and were beaten and tortured during that period. I was trying to get back and we were intercepted at Nyakabande. They asked for our IDs and border passes, the latter which I had lost, and I told them so, saying if they checked in their systems they would find a record of my crossing. They then asked for money which we told them we did not have. That is when they locked us up at Kisoro. They would beat us up while we were incarcerated. Collectively, the group said up to 1.5 million Ugandan shillings or $500,000 Rwandan francs had been confiscated by the Ugandan authorities when they were arrested, and none of it was returned despite assurances that it would be. They also said life is hard in Uganda and going there is not worth the risks taken The mayor of Burera district told us that this is not the first time they have received people kicked out of Uganda, and sometimes bodies are dumped at the border, showing signs of torture and mutilation. Districts along Rwanda's borders have been working to boost infrastructure so that local communities have everything they need in their area without feeling that they must cross the border. Projects to develop local communities have also been providing employment.
Rwanda and Zimbabwe have signed an agreement to train Rwandan technicians on the operation and management of a railway line that is expected to be built in Rwanda. Take a look. Rwanda is in the process of building a railway from Dar es Salaam in Tanzania to Goma in the Democratic Republic of Congo through Kigali. Rwanda's Minister of Infrastructure, Ambassador Claver Gatete, says technicians in Rwanda will use this opportunity to be trained train management skills in Zimbabwe, a country that has had railways for a long time.
Agreements have already been signed for the trainings in Zimbabwe, and arrangements are being made on how they arrive there. Now that both sides have agreed to work together, all that is remaining is to provide detailed information on those that we shall be sending off to the trainings, how many they are, and the date of their departure. Such details are among the things that will be discussed on.
The railway project is expected to accelerate the transportation of goods in the region, including Rwanda, through the central route. Zimbabwe's Minister of Transport and Infrastructure, Felix Tapiwa Mhona, commends Rwanda's progress in the country's public life, as he says there is so much that Zimbabwe can learn from Rwanda, and which is the main reason for his visit to Rwanda.
As you know, that the two republics are actually working together in harmony, and therefore the issues to do with infrastructure are quite topical in any given nation, for which they drive the economy, they drive the prosperity of any given nation, and they found it very imperative to therefore have a relationship that would then take up. And upon the invite from my counterpart, Honorable Gatete, to say yes, let's come and share what we have, what we actually have as Rwanda, since we are actually coming from a similar background in terms of resource mobilization for the goodness of your country.
Zimbabwe's Minister of Transport and Infrastructure and his delegation arrived in Rwanda on Sunday, September 5th, to visit various infrastructure projects, including industrial sites, the Kinigi Model Village in the north, scenic spots and other places, and their visit will conclude tomorrow on Friday.